Good evening. You're watching Philly Live. I'm Ashiok, Gangadean, your global connection. Tonight, global mystical experience. We've seen with earlier guests that there is a spiritual renaissance taking place here in America and around the planet. And so-called mystical experience is playing a central role in this phenomenon. But many are not aware that there's a rich mystical tradition at the heart of the religions of the Bible, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But what is mystical experience? Does it have a place in today's world of science and technology? Have you had a mystical experience? We're fortunate to have with us tonight Dr. J.J. Hurtak, who is a mystic and a renowned scholar of diverse mystical traditions, especially the Jewish and Christian mystical worlds. Dr. Hurtak is well known for his books, Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, translated into 7 languages, and Pistis Sophia, Text and Commentary, which explores the Gnostic mystical developments in early Christianity. J.J., welcome to Philly Live.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be with you.
Help us understand this book, the title, Pistis Sophia. What is that about?
Pistis means faith in the ancient Greek language. Sophia means wisdom. It is the combination of faith and wisdom. To say it another way, one does not live in a world of blind faith, but one sees higher realities in creation, in the universe, in the nature of God. The reason I became involved with this as a young university professor, my students kept asking me about the mystical experience. And I became acquainted with ancient literature through my teachers, the scholars I studied with at the University of Chicago, scholars from the Far East, the Near East, and in a matter of time I came across this ancient Coptic text called the Pistis Sophia, and so I labored diligently to render a translation.
Now, this is not well known, this title. I mean, many people who may be considering themselves Christians and well read in Christianity may not even have heard of it.
What's amazing about this, Ashiok, is it is from the 2nd and 3rd century, so it's there at the very beginning, before Christianity becomes an organized religion.
Yeah.
And this is a document that speaks to what I will call a feminine perspective of theology. In this book, you find the nature of God as both male and female.
Right. Sophia is a name for female face of wisdom, isn't it?
It is a vehicle that the Christ figure uses in his narrative commentary on how the soul ascends from this world to the higher world. The soul ascends through the finding of the female nature of divine purpose, divine love and compassion.
Right.
And so the Pistis Sophia is a story of the soul that is trapped in the lower world, that has faith, but this faith is out of balance with the Christ-type wisdom. And when that Christed wisdom is found, the marriage of the bride and bridegroom takes place.
Yes.
The soul ascends. The secrets of the universe present themselves.
Right. And is Jesus then relevant to this in a direct way?
Very relevant in the sense that this is the Jesus who now, after the historic resurrection, reappears to his disciples, both male and female, and instructs them as to the secrets that the Gospels refer to, the secrets of the higher worlds, the thrones, the principalities, the powers, the whole nature of the archangelic kingdom. All of this is made very, very, how should I say, provocative, where the reader enjoys hearing from the risen Christ the nature of why the male and female must unite.
I see. Now, I know we have some graphics from your book which we're going to share, but just to invite our viewers to join us tonight, we're here with Dr. J.J. Hurtak, an eminent scholar and mystic who's written on a number of topics in mystical tradition, and we're looking at the Pistis Sophia, a very important translation and commentary. And if you've had a mystical experience, you would like to just ask questions about that, pick up the phone and join us. We'd love to hear from you tonight. Continue, JJ. We're going to put up some graphics now.
It took me something on the order of 15 years to translate the Coptic and the Greek text with a new commentary on how this relates to the world of psychology, psycholinguistics, the whole movement of consciousness, and also feminine theology. This is something that has been lost in the great traditions, the great movements of thought in the West.
Right.
Where does the feminine fit in? Where does the Divine Mother, as she is called by the prophets, the Imma in the Old Testament,
Right,
or
right.
the Virgin, Parthenos, in the New Testament, where do all of these concepts fit in? And the Pista Sophia is really a tremendous encyclopedia of teaching, linking together not only the movements of thought in the Middle East, but also it is a bridge between the philosophies of the Far East and of Africa regarding the role of the Divine Mother.
Well, I think our first graphic might help us see that. We're going to put it up in a moment here, so we can talk about that. The tree
Of life.
Yes, so here it is now for our viewers.
If we look carefully, it's the picture of man, and there is a cross of attributes around the body of man, from the top, the crown, to the feet, called the kingdom, Malkuth. The concept of the twin Savior is that there is within each of us a feminine side of life, of rebirthing, of experience and liberation. That is the Savior within, that is in concert with the Savior, the Christ figure without, who is
So
the
the
cosmic
inner is
Christ.
the feminine and the outer is the masculine?
Is the masculine. The marriage of the two is the activation of the tree of life. Now, the tree of life is the first symbol one finds in the Garden of Eden. It is also the last symbol one finds in the Christian New Testament, in the book of Revelation. The soul that ascends solves the mystery of the tree of life. And
Right.
here in the Pista Sophia, we're told through marriage, the outer and the inner must come together. Liberation must begin within, through the inner movements.
Right,
The
so-
inner assimilation of beauty, of purpose and compassion, that is matched with the outer, which is the Christ symbol of liberation,
Right.
the assimilation with the divine.
Now, JJ, you said that you find that this is a bridge between the Old Testament, the biblical tradition, and the Christian tradition.
much so.
In what way is it a bridge?
It is a bridge in the sense that it makes use of the symbol of the tree of life, which is there in the Old Testament. We find it in the Psalms, Psalm number 1. The psalmist tells us that the righteous person is like a tree by the living waters. It also is a bridge because there is a reference to the use of the divine name of God, known to the mystics as the Tetragrammaton or the Yod-He-Vod-He in the Jewish tradition.
Right.
In the Old Testament, it is the unspeakable name of God.
Now we have this next graphic here. That
And as you
spells
see
this
here,
out,
the
yeah.
10 different spheres of influence called the Sephiroth, or the 10 attributes of the divine flowing through the human body. Think of this as a blueprint of energy through your body from the top to the bottom. And as you ignite each of the 10 areas with proper music and the intonation of the divine names, you assimilate through this geometry of fusion yourself with the higher universe.
So this is a map that can actually show the transformation of one's being or consciousness.
Correct.
Right.
The transition takes place from the world of material form through the world of formation, through the world of mental extension and intention, ultimately through the mind of direct experience. It's an experiential roadmap.
But now we don't usually learn, those of us who've been raised in the Bible, and we don't seem to get this. Why not? We've not seen these kinds of diagrams. This reminded me of the chakras in the Hindu
Very much so.
tradition.
The Hinduistic tradition, with the notion of the Pingala and the Ida at the base of the spine, represent in the Sanskrit tradition essentially the same type of tree of life, the cosmic tree of life. We find that also in the Islamic world. The archaic symbol of the tree of life is one that one finds even amongst the Aboriginal people in Ecuador, in the Amazon where I've worked. I found statuary, I've found poles that have been embellished with symbols of how the tree of life has this spiral of energy, and through the assimilation of this inner spiral of energy comes the movements up the spine, ultimately higher states of creativity, and for the few, an experience of God, the divine mind of the universe.
Right now, Jackie from West Philadelphia is with us. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Welcome to Philly Live.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask the professor what made him start this research in the first place, and why, and whether or not have you talked or made
Having a little
these
technical
discussions?
difficulties now. Jackie was asking what got you into this research in the first place.
As I was meditating on the different names of God in the Hebrew, the Aramaic, the Arabic, the Egyptian, as I began to intone the names of God, I had what we call a higher consciousness experience, a mystical experience of momentarily seeing tremendous light and feeling a tremendous consciousness surge through my body. And this convinced me that along with these symbols, there is a music that one must use to orchestrate how the mind works, to ultimately connect with what you call the logosphere, where one hears the language of the divine, one experiences the faces of the divinities that exist in the higher worlds.
Seems as though you have to have a powerful experience like that to really be able to translate these sacred texts.
I would not have the energy nor the motivation to go through so much of the ancient text with the ancient languages to render this translation, which I feel will serve as a springboard for closer dialogue, not only in work with the Parliament of World Religions, in work with worldwide exchanges of scholars from different religions, but in a world that is teeming on a religious and political dualism. This type of teaching of the Divine Mother, in my opinion, is what the world needs.
Judge, say more about that. This has come up several times. It seems to be at the heart of Pistis Sophia, that it's a merging of the feminine dimension that has not been noticed enough. Two things. Why has the feminine not been more prominent in the past in, say, the Christian or the Judaic tradition?
If we look really at the way religion has worked in sociological context, in psychological context, it has been the age of the masculine father figure that has dominated, and anything that suggests, as the Sophia literature of the early Christian church and Kabbalistic literature of the Judaic tradition, that there's something else, tends to get pushed to the side, tends to get marginalized. And now that we've gone through what I will call an age of over-masculizing God and coming into focus now with an avalanche of new materials, from the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Middle East to the Nag Hammadi Egyptian text to literature in the Far East, we realize that the other aspect of God, the feminine principle, is being found. And this is why this teaching is so relevant. It teaches us to love one another and to see God in everyone, to see really this is the missing piece that will help us overcome the dualism of the West as we go into a new era, a new millennium.
Right. Now, Jackie liked your response to the first question, so she's back with the second one. Jackie, are you with us?
Yes.
Hi.
I would like to ask him, just after him making that statement, with this new revelation, do you think that Christians and Muslims and Hebrews are willing to accept this type of I won't say new, but ancient philosophy? Are we ready to hear this?
Thank you so much. That's a very good question. Along the lines I want to, we don't realize that there's a common tradition between the Islamic, the Jewish, and the Christian. So could you pick up on that for us?
Yes, this is a very excellent question. In fact, one of the great Islamic thinkers in the 3rd century of the Islamic period, Abu Yatzir, spoke of the cosmic tree of life. And we have other mystical thinkers, such as Al-Abir from Spain in the 12th century of our present era, that speak of how we must assimilate ourselves really into the totality of God. And the thrust of that totality is the missing pieces.
But now Jackie's asking, do you think people are ready for this? Are they ready for a mystical experience so powerful that it really can unite the three religions, for example?
I think in the sense of what we're finding throughout the world with the panic button being pushed and seeing situations geopolitically escalate into a near cultural warfare between the East and West, looking back and seeing that all three religions of Abraham have the same angels, have the same Godhead, and have great nuances of language that are the same regarding the cosmic tree, as reflected in the early mystical poets and scholars of the Islamic tradition, of the Christian at the very beginning, and of the lesser-known Kabbalistic tradition. There is a model for where a shrine to the holy angels could be built, where all three religions could come together.
That's amazing. And I want to pick up on the Kabbalistic tradition, the Jewish mystical tradition in a moment, just to encourage our viewers again that we're having a fascinating conversation on global mystical experience with Dr. J.J. Hurtak, himself a great mystic and a scholar. It's a great chance to call in. Our phone lines are open. Please pick up and join us. Now, we have some more graphics from your book that we'd like to share with our viewers, and we're going to put them up and have you tell us
Sure.
more about them, both in terms of the feminine and other traditions. They're about to put these up in a moment. The feminine principle seems to be coming up over and over as a key. You linked it with love before, and you say it's a key now to where we are on the planet.
We have found in our work, for example, in Africa, in the apartheid period, that by the use of the names of God with music, emphasizing the feminine tonality, that is to say, the inner voice, the sweet voice, the harmonic voice, there was a tremendous turnaround of hostility and polarization. We have found this also true in other parts of the world, that singing the names of God, whether we do it in Arabic or Aramaic or Hebrew or for that matter Sanskrit, does something in the elevation of the inner
physiologically, it changes the human body vibration.
It does. It does. With scholars, neurophysicists, those that have worked with mind over matter studies, we have found that it releases the kundalini, it releases the shakti, the concept of the spark that accelerates up the spine. It opens the mind to see other dimensional realities, and by seeing the foliage on the tree of life, the other faces, the other traditions, one realizes one is a caretaker in this world. One is saved or liberated to serve humanity. It is not a self-willed aspect of religion to assert oneself at the demise of others, but to see harmony, unity, and the complementary aspect of the great prophets.
Does this go back into the Kabbalah tradition, the Jewish mystical tradition?
It goes back very much so.
Help us viewers understand this tradition a bit, the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic tradition.
Kabbalistic tradition generally is associated with the great writings of Moses de Leon in Spain in the 16th century, or the Kabbalists of the 12th century. We, however, who have been working with the history of Gnosticism and mystical speculation, know that there are antecedents, even in the Psalms of King David, who says in Psalm 139, whether I ascend to the heights of the higher worlds, or make my bed in Sheol, the lower depths of creation, or take the wings of the morning that I might reside in the uttermost parts of the ocean, thou art with me. The unity with God is there, it's very, very strong. One finds also in the prophet Daniel, 4th century BCE, before the Common Era, there is a mystical experience of going into the presence of what is called the Ancient of Days, the Atik Yomim, the process of ascension, through the garment of light is put on. And we find in Judaism and in Christianity and also in Islam the idea of wearing the garment of transfiguration, by finding the garment of both male and female natures being put together. One essentially qualifies to experience what is known in Kabbalism as the higher worlds, the Hekalos.
I see. Now, Donna from New Jersey, hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Philly Live.
Thank you.
Your question.
I have a question for your guest. I've always been interested in some of these more mystical philosophies, and I'm very curious if he feels
Could you stand back from your set a bit? We're getting some feedback here in the studio. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm trying to ask the question if he feels that that astrology has any relationship to some of these ancient mystical thoughts.
Thank you very much, Donna. That's a good question. I mean, people are very interested in astrology. Do you think that astrology has anything to do with the ancient mystical thought?
Not so much. In the late Middle Ages, the form of Jewish mysticism we will call the Kabbalistic traditions, which means to receive the early teaching, found in the popular usage of the sacred terms a connection with the planetary dimensions, the star constellations, and so there was a popular astrology that came to play with the higher heritage of assimilation with the Godhead. But I would like to emphasize in all three religions of Abraham, whether we emphasize the known traditions that come through the scholars, or the lesser secondary traditions that come through the mystics.
Right.
There was a desire to go beyond the palaces, the 7 palaces or the 7 lower heavens, that which is called the Shemayim, the lower heavenly worlds, into the direct connection with the divine, and through the divine see a higher purpose of life, the eternality of life, and what I would call the realization that the soul is doomed to perfection. It is here in this world on assignment with a higher purpose.
It's doomed to perfection.
Rather than to, so to speak, do the cakewalk through the zodiac with stars.
Right.
These would be idle reflections or bloodless abstractions, according to most Kabbalists. So the next aspect of Kabbalism, in this profound teaching of Isaac Luria and others, is the idea that the soul is trapped in this material world, and without the proper guidance, without the proper meditation and prayer, and I would add to that the use of the divine names of God through musical attunement, there's the roadmap is lost.
Right. Now I'm getting two impressions. One is that the shared mystical experience in these 3 traditions can be a bridge to find common ground.
Exactly.
Between them. You think so?
Very much so. If you look at the Quran, chapter 9 speaks of the role of Mary. And the name of Mary, the mother of Jesus, is mentioned more in the Quran than Muhammad.
So she's important in Islam as well.
So you have here in Islam a acknowledgement of the role of the mother that is both divine as well as a historic figure through which assimilation and brotherhood and sisterhood can come together.
Right.
And I say this in a deeper sense to the audience that may be Islamic, that I feel that this is the invisible strategy of a higher theology, forgiveness, compassion, and assimilation through the role of the Divine Mother that one finds in each of the 3 religions of Abraham.
I see.
The concept of Imma, or the Divine Mother in the Old Testament, that is seen as wisdom or hokmah, which is the next value on the tree of life after the crown, that must come down into the heart, into the reality of the physical world. The role of the Mother Virgin, Parthenos, that one finds in the Gospels as well as Revelation, that one is married to, wedded to. And in Islam, the nature of the feminine is bringing forth the great tradition that sustains life through the prophets.
It sounds as if, Jojo, the mystical, I'm listening to see what is the mystical. It seems that it has to do with unity, it has to do with love, it has to do with a profound experience. What is mystical for you?
Mystical is the ability to stand in awe of the universe and feel the presence of God. This can be done introspectively, like many of the Christian mystics of the Middle Ages, many of the Hebrew mystics, or it can be done in terms of a unified vision, as one finds in the Sanskrit traditions and the Eastern traditions, also who emphasize the role of Kali, the Divine Mother, as we find in the writings of noted authors like Ramakrishna in the 19th century. The role of the Divine Mother, thus, is a symbol as well as a reality. It's a symbol for those who look only intellectually through this mind, but those who look through the eye of the heart, through the eye of deeper love and compassion.
Which is a feminine principle.
It is the principle becomes the personality of feeling the divine spark, the embryo God self within us, that is the male and female, that matches the lost feminine that we find in society, be it in parts of China, parts of India, for that matter, in the people of the Zulu nation of southern Africa. When I was working with the Zulus many years ago, I was profoundly struck of how the Eastern tradition is found in East Africa of the Divine Mother, and how there are prayers and petitions that are uniquely there in the African spirit.
So you're finding a pattern around on a global scale, really, on the mystical strain, so to speak.
It is the missing piece that makes Africa, including Egypt, the missing, so we say, hook that unifies all of the other continents, all of the other, shall we say, great traditions. And I believe, as a result of my archaeological work in Egypt, going beneath the sands of Giza with remote sensing tools, with radar, with other tools, in finding some of these symbolic artifacts that have the form of the Divine Mother, that this was the original religion, this was the original matrix out of which the other traditions came.
So that you think that that is a pattern that resonates around the planet in different mystical traditions?
It is a sleeping pattern and a sleeping power for most of humanity. But as we find more and more evidence of the need for the feminine to be in the theology of the now, as we find need to have the feminine side.
Why is this important now? I'm wondering whether, time is just about up, I'm just wondering whether if you can start reading the different mystical traditions in this global way, whether you think there's a message for us now on the planet.
It is, because in the work we've had with the Aborigines of the indigenous people of the Amazon, they speak of Mother Earth crying and the Divine Mother returning. We find in the Nag Hammadi text, lost text of Egypt, the Coptic text, the Divine Mother coming back. In the sense of cosmology, in the sense of history, in the sense of literature and theology, the Divine Mother appears to us from all directions. And in a personal sense, I have had an experience with the Divine Mother, and I've had the realization that that is the missing part of Western science and religion that is too mind-orientated, too object-orientated, and not human-orientated or love-orientated. That is the part that brings all things together, and that is why I believe the Africans are correct, the Sanskrit writers are correct, the Coptics were correct in seeing that the end of the age and the beginning of the next age is the divine female. Thus, the end of the age is not in death, the apocalypse, the terror of the earth that falls apart, but rather the earth that goes through rebirth, regenesis, and ultimate ascension to a unified humanity.
So the study, the global study, you have 1 minute left now, with the study of mysticism in this global way, might tell us something about where we are on the planet now, what's next for us.
That's right. In closing, I'd like to draw attention to the Merkaba film, which
you won several awards for this important.
It takes all of the symbols through the feminine and puts the viewer into a state of what is called submersion. Submersion is where he or she begins to swim in hyperspace or swim through the symbols, recognizing the common mothering aspect of the spirit that unites all of us. So I would encourage the friends in our audience to look for this on our website.
Right, and we'll link with your website at WYBE. I'll help our audience know about that in a moment. So final thoughts. I mean, there's so much more we can discuss.
We're living in a
here.
dynamic period. One of our projects, as you know, in the Golan Heights is to create a shrine of all three religions through the Divine Mother.
JJ, thank you so much. We're going to have you back. Thank you for being with us. And thank you for watching Philly Live and for your calls tonight. And if you need more information on tonight's program or any of our other shows, log on to our website at wybe.org to get links also to tonight's. For Philly Live, I'm Ashiok, Gangadean. Have a great evening. Good night.